Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your one and only hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC. And when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. The winter anime season 2023 is already going full force ahead. So of course today we will talk about a couple of premieres we checked out in the sneak peek. And after that, we return one final time to Seasoning City and discuss the third season of one of our all-time favorite shows, Mob Psycho 100. So get ready for some big laughs and tearful goodbyes, and don't pause the pod. We'll be right back. Alright, sneak peek first. First things first. We checked out a couple of premieres, both of us. Like, I still have enough leftover shows from fall, so I didn't check out that many premieres. There was one more show that I wanted to check out, but that aired yesterday. I forgot about it. I forgot that it existed. So, if I review that, you will be surprised with that title. John, you have more than me, and there's a lot of overlap between our choices, I think, so why don't you start us off with either your nopes, your maybes, or your keepers?
Well, I mean, the first is the continuation of Urusei Yatsura, because that's still going on, and it's still a stupid giant goof fest, so... But I really only have one nope, and it's a nope mostly out of necessity because it's the start of the new year. The company I work for is like, hey, y'all got to come into the office more. So several things needed to go due to time. And that's the main reason for drops this time around. But the big one was Buddy Daddies.
Ah, all right. Okay.
Yeah, and because it's a PA work show, I always want to check their stuff out. And it seems like a fun action comedy, somewhat spy thing. Definitely kind of trying to cut into Spy Family's pie a little bit. That's
what I thought when I read the summary. I was like, I feel like we have just been watching a very similar show, only not with two daddies, just one of them.
I mean, but the wrinkle is that the little girl is actually the daughter of one of the characters. So, and that's not a spoiler. That's something like they hint at it pretty hard when they first show her on screen. And then at the end of the episode, it's like, oh, no, yeah, that's absolutely 100% the case. So, I don't know. It seems like it could be neat. And me, I always like checking out PA work stuff. So it looks great for sure, but it's got to go because of time. Yeah. Sorry, Buddy Daddies.
They will live.
Also, what a name!
Yes.
I don't think you have any nopes, huh?
No, I would have to start off with the maybes.
Okay, so if you want to go for it.
Sure. My first maybe is I think a show that you didn't watch and that is Giant Beasts of Ars. That's also a name.
Yeah.
But yeah, the giant Ars beasts are part of an original anime, and they are roaming the land of the country that is central to the story of this anime. And they tend to attack cities. So the cities enlist hunters to get rid of them. And that's a pretty dangerous task. It's kind of Monster Hunter-ish in terms of how many people might be involved, depending on how big that thing is. So, yeah, you got a big cast. The first episode, goes through it pretty quickly, tries to introduce us to all the characters, so it feels a bit scattershot. But aside from that, the scenario itself looked pretty interesting. We have, this buddy system going from buddy daddies to buddy hunters, I guess, because apparently in this world you have these characters called paladins that can create weapons from people or something like that. Or some people can turn into weapons and the paladins can use them. I'm not quite sure how it works yet. It wasn't explained in the first episode, but the main character seemed to be a down and out paladin who has lost his way, and this little girl that escapes this weird experiment testing facility, whatever, prison, and seems to be one of those living weapons. And so they team up at the end of the episode to fight a giant monster. And that's where it ended. But so far, so good. It's not an isekai show, a fantasy show that's not an isekai show. So that's a rare breed. That's why I wanted to check it out. And it looks pretty good. So I'm having a fun time. Some archetypes in there, of course. And the main characters seem to be very sympathetic so far. And yeah, I like it. Cool action, great fantasy setting. And I think this might be fun to stick around for, but I don't know yet. So it's going to stay a maybe for now. But I'm hopeful.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. John, what is your first maybe?
Revenger.
Yeah, that's my second one.
It's pretty much my only maybe. The list is thin this time around, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, same for me. It's got to be a quick sneak peek this time around, people.
Yeah. Revenger is the story of a man who was betrayed and in turn did some betrayal, and it's very bloody and very oh god the first episode.
Yeah, it's harsh.
So this guy, this samurai Raizo Kurima, was misled into believing that his fiance's father was some like big ne'er-do-well and ended up killing him, and then gets taken in by this guy who has a revenge store, as he calls it. And he ends up taking out the guy who ordered him to take out his fiance's father. And then his fiance takes her own life, and it's kind of a really depressing first episode.
Yeah, I mean, they got to set him on the path of, hey, I got nothing to lose, so I'm going to join this gang of weird misfits with very specialized skills and very specialized weapon that can kill people in very awesome and gruesome ways.
Yeah.
Like all of them are very, very, it's kind of a Mission Impossible thing going on with this troop. Like they're all assassins, and they can be hired or they have their own agenda. That's not clear for me yet from judging from the first episode. But yeah, he just gets saved by one of them from the attackers that the bad guy that fucked him over sends. And then they basically help him. They want to capture the bad guy, but he wants to take him out, obviously. But yeah, it's they seem to be kind of a mercenary group for now. So we'll see what else is happening there.
Yeah, in the second episode, they sort of line out that their big call to action is when someone leaves them like a coin or a piece of gold with like teeth marks in it. That's
the thing that that Raizo's father-in-law or to-be father-in-law does to call them in. Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I said, cool weapons and kills. The kite and golden mask kill in the first episode were particularly nasty and cool, and something I hadn't seen yet. It was like, whoa, this is neat. And they kind of explain it too, like with the guy, the main character. I haven't gotten his name yet memorized, but he's like this artisan of fine craft stuff. And so he works with a lot of materials and metal and stuff like that. So what he does is he just puts like this very thin paper or paper-esque thing, but that is made of gold over people's faces, and then it hardens and they can't breathe anymore. It's really, really pretty awesome and cool the way, like how he then just kneels down and the guy can't just hit him with his sword anymore and just patiently waits until that thing hardens and the guy just suffocates. It's really stylish.
And also he's got Saint Mary tattooed on his back because, right.
It's interesting that he seems to be Christian, so there might be something that, in regards to his origin story, why he is willing to go the path of revenge, because back in those days, Christians not that popular in Japan.
Not at all.
So I would assume that, that he has also a very sad backstory. But yeah, very interesting. Just the character setup. I want to learn more about these characters. But yeah, like John said, this doesn't seem to be a story that will have a happy outcome, probably. Mm-hmm. I mean, revenge stories seldomly do, but this in the first episode already tells you, yeah, prepare yourself. This is it's gonna go down a dark road, probably. But yeah, it looks fun, looks good.
Yeah, it does look good.
Well animated, and it's interesting. It's definitely one of the higher profile shows this season that has been announced and has been hyped up a bit. So yeah,
that's weird. I don't feel like I saw a ton of hype for this, but you know, the first couple episodes seemed pretty neat, and of course, it's got Gen Urobuchi's name attached to it, so that'll bring in a lot of eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. After he has pretty much for the past years been busy with Thunderbolt Fantasy, and now he returns to anime. I mean, he might have been doing something in between that I'm not aware of, but that's the first project where it's like, oh yeah, that he's back doing this, so that's good. And looking forward to seeing more of this.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's it for our maybes.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I don't have any more left.
I don't either.
So there you go. Let's move on over to the keepers. So shows we're definitely gonna keep on watching. So I assume you have 3, 4?
I mean, one is a quick mention. This is your public service announcement that John continues to watch Love Live.
What a surprise.
Niji-on Animation is like this little 3-minute thing that airs every Friday that's all about the girls from the Nijigasaki High School Idol Club, and it's this silly little thing that's like, okay, you know, if you Sunrise wants to keep the train going every season.
Yeah,
so that's where we are.
Yes.
So there's your obligatory Love Live mention. Also not to be talked about during this segment is the return of Sorceress Stabber Orphan.
Yeah.
I figured Dean was done with it, but I guess I was wrong, because it's going to be coming back for a 2-core series, and one is going to be covering the Chaos and Urban Rama arc, and the other is the Doom of Dragon Sanctuary arc. This show is from the 90s.
Absolutely.
So I barely know anything about Orphan beyond what I've already watched, but you know, I guess now I'm in it for the long haul.
I mean, the last season seemed to be a fun time for you, so why not?
It was fun. A little difficult to follow at times, but fun. But yeah, I guess the first real keeper I'll talk about then is NieR Automata version 1.1a.
A show I intently didn't check out because I haven't played the game yet, and I want to experience the story first hand in game form. Though I wouldn't be surprised if this one would be another alternate scenario, or it turns out one to be. I wouldn't put it past Yoko Taro to just use the anime to tell yet another different ending to that story.
I'm going to say this right now. Play the game first.
I intend to.
Not just to you, but to anyone who can hear my voice. Because I went into this a little worried. Because the first episode played it really straight and was like, yeah, this is just the first hour of the game, like almost beat for beat. But then in the second episode, they started showing some other stuff to do some world building that wasn't in the game. And it was actually really kind of neat and interesting to see play out. And they're introducing some new, like, actual named characters that also weren't in the game. So I'm curious to see what they do with the overarching narrative within the show. And they're doing this goofy thing at the end of each episode where this game has 26 endings. And a whole bunch of them are just stupid goofs that you can do by doing the wrong thing. You're going off the wrong path. And at the end of each episode, they have a little puppet show where they have 2B and 9S talk about, oh, this is how you do this ending. And they just kind of inadvertently do it. And they're like actual just little felt puppets.
I mean, why not?
It's kind of great. I love it. I will say, CG in this show's not good, dude. Like when 2B and 9S are in the flight units, they look bad.
I mean, I don't want to say it's an A1 show as a detractor, because aside from all the tanks looking the same in 86, I mean, some of the parts were fine. So I don't know how much better this fares in.
It's weird because the assets from the game exist in their higher quality.
But
yeah, that's true. That's neither here nor there because the 2D stuff looks gorgeous.
that's nice. I mean, that's the most important part. As long as they're not too in the flight units too often.
Yeah, like when they're in the flight units, they kind of just look like static dolls, and it's like,
well. Oh,
yeah,
God, but they're androids, so it makes sense that they would look like a stiff piece of shit.
No, don't do me like that, man. I love NieR too much. Yeah, no. I'm curious to see what they do moving forward with parts of the story, because if they're going to keep continuing putting like new little details in there to fill things out, I'm all for that.
Same. I mean, that's kind of a, if the game exists, of course it's always nice, or it might be nice to have a version, a abridged version in anime form of the game story, if it's a giant RPG, whatever, to save some time. But even better than that is either a sequel to the game, or, something that does something with the story that is different. And I feel like something like NieR Automata, that inherently, in terms of structure, already has something implemented that accounts for different story paths, that it lends itself super well to just do another version of the story, but, slightly different, do something more with it, put some more information in there, some other character development, explore some new areas that you weren't able to do with the game. And I'm glad to hear that's actually what they seem to be doing.
Yeah, because like the first third half of the second episode was just like following a bunch of the like machine life forms around, and they're just doing their thing. And some of them are like replanting grass and growing flowers. And it's like, oh, this is, kind of a neat piece. And then other things happen, unfortunately. But, it's neat. I think if they keep going with what they're doing, it'll be a good adaptation.
Whenever I have tackled NieR Replicant and NieR Automata, I will check out this show. So, ask me again in 2, 3, 4 years.
I'm so bad because I played Automata. I put like 70 hours into it. I still have not touched Replicant.
I think for enjoying this anime, it doesn't matter. So, and, they came out after Automata, so that kind of makes sense.
So, what you got?
The first keeper I got is one you have as well, and one we have been looking forward to for a while since the first trailer dropped, and that is Trigun Stampede.
Yes!
The new rendition, new version, remake, retelling something of a very beloved classic. So it has to fill big shoes. The original Trigun is one of those shows that is in the mind of a lot of people who grew up with anime at a certain time, be included. And I like the original show. And this one is new in several ways. Like, it seems they have not restructured the complete story. The setup is still the same. But, they seem to have gotten rid of some characters. They have changed the designs. It looks completely different, actually, because this is a 3D CG show done by Orange. So, looks good, especially in the fight scenes. It's super fluid there. Otherwise, the usual Orange, sometimes very fluid, sometimes a bit more choppy stuff, but mostly fluid, and very heavy focus on very expressive facial animations, which I really appreciate. And, it's good, but, Vesh, it seemed the way he meets Meryl is very different. And she is a reporter now, not an insurance something agent anymore. I mean, for people who don't know anything about Trigun, it's basically set on this desert-esque planet and has a bit of a Western feel to it, and is about a wanted criminal, quote unquote, called the Humanoid Typhoon that comes into town and causes a ruckus wherever he goes, and destroys these plants that give the people power, apparently, these giant weird things. And the original show didn't immediately reveal what the plans are, who Vash is, where he came from. I was surprised to see that the new series just completely, in the first couple of minutes, tells you everything about his origin story. Everything about him, everything about his brother, everything where the plans came from. I was like, what? The old show didn't do that, right? Do I misremember that?
I don't think it did, but this is also working with less episodes, so I don't know if it's planned to be more than one season, but as far as I can tell, considering they've considering they've thrown most of the cards on the table.
Yeah, and like I said, they're getting rid of some characters. Like I haven't seen any of artwork of Millie in there, which was a very important component of Meryl's gang, basically.
Yeah,
and it's weird. I want to see, because one of the most emotional moments in the original show was related to another character, Wolfwood, who will appear in this. We have seen him in the trailer, but he also had like a thing going on with Millie at the end. So that's probably not going to be in NieR. So it's really interesting. I wonder what they do with that. How they this seems just to be a very much more streamlined version of the story, or this what it's gonna be. And we see like the rivalship between Vash and his brother Nice play out, and all the story of all of that. They're probably gonna get rid of all the one-off villain episodes, which were fun in the original show. They're probably gonna go. They might even gonna get rid of all the of Knife's henchmen, which would be a bummer, because one of the strongest parts of the old show was one of his henchmen, Legato Bluestone.
Oh, yeah.
He was really great. And if he isn't in this show, that would be kind of a bummer, but we'll see. I don't think they have shown him in the trailer. So
yeah, I don't think Legato has been in any of the promo materials yet. But yeah, that was one of the strongest moments in the original show.
Yeah. He was a really cool and really menacing character, probably even more so than Knife. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. So far, it looks promising. It's fun. It's action packed. It looks really good. So yeah, I'm of course a bit hesitant to see. Okay, how much is it going to change up? I like the old show, and I want the important parts to stay intact. But maybe let's do something interesting with what it had, and show us some new sides of Vash, a true classic character. And the old show is still there, right? If you want to watch it, you want to watch it. And in terms of production values, this is definitely a bit better. I mean, the old show had some good moments in terms of animation, but after the first episode, not so much, not so many. Even though it was done by Madhouse, but it was not operating on a high budget.
Yeah, well,
And this one definitely is looking a lot better. I like Orange is putting a lot of passion into this, so it seems. And like the first 3 seconds, like the soundtrack and everything, and the space stuff, it looks so epic. It looks like a Hollywood movie. It's great.
My boy Tatsuya Kato on the music. Let's go.
Good stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more of it. I'm just a bit worried that all the changes they have apparently made to the characters and introduced new one. I think the guy, Roberto, I don't know if he was in the old show. Don't remember him.
Pretty sure he wasn't.
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't even know if Naito, the creator of the original manga, is involved in this in any way.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah, so
I think he's at least overseeing it.
That's good. So if he has a hand in it and it's like, yeah, I'm going to streamline this and tell the story in a more Hollywood-esque way, then yeah, will be interesting. Looking forward to more. And it seems like you are as well, John.
Oh, for sure. I have been waiting on this. Like a friend of ours and I went to Anime NYC a few months ago, and they had an early screening of the first episode, and I was just like, I'm absolutely ready for more. Mm-hmm. And they had people walking around the room like, don't you dare touch your phone. If you take so much as a single photo, you're getting thrown out.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Like they let people take photos of the when they had like different promo art and character designs, like during the like the PowerPoint presentation they had before the screening of the episode. But after that, it was like if your phone so much as leaves your pocket, you're gone. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, the Trigun was always bigger in the US than in Japan, so I would assume them making a big deal about it. But yeah, looks good. We'll definitely. This is definitely one, or I'm super sure. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in my keepers. That we will talk about this in the not too distant future extensively,
for sure.
All right, John. What is your next keeper? Last keeper?
I think it's same keeper for you. Do you have another keeper?
No.
Okay, then it is our final keeper. Mm-hmm. And what else would it be but Vinland Saga?
Yes, I want to say finally, it wasn't that long between season 1 and season 2, but still, we were worried for a while because the first season was done by Wit, and at this point they're kind of like, yeah, we're doing one season and then please someone else do the rest because we don't want to do franchises. I think the new season of Ancient Maker's Bride is coming up is also not handled by them, and I think they did the first of that, right? I think so.
Yes, yeah. So. Well, I think a lot of people were really, really excited for another season to come. I forget if it was the director or if it was Makoto Yukimura himself that was like, yeah, the future, like we want to do it, but the future is kind of uncertain.
Well, they get to do it.
We
get to see it. Mappa is animating it, so it seems to be in good hands. Even though they're just loading their portfolio up, like their queue, their work queue is so full at this point. Like there are so many franchises they're working on. I don't know how they're managing it. If they want to finish all of these, like I mean, they're wrapping up Attack on Titan and they're done with that after the coming season. But now they have Vinland Saga, they have Chainsaw Man, they have One Punch Man now. There's so much stuff that they're doing, and still all the other stuff that they're working on anyway. So like Jujutsu Kaisen and Jesus, that's a lot. I mean, it's good to have work for them, I guess. So they're definitely not going out of business anytime soon because those are all super high profile shows. But still, that's a lot of work in a lot of like a very short time. Goddamn.
I'm glad. More than anything else, that it's the same director and writing crew on the second season of Vinland, just so that way it will be consistent with what we had before.
Absolutely. And I mean, there is, judging from the first episode, there is some differences in terms of style, maybe. I feel like there was more, Wit employed more CG vistas, like environments and stuff like that. I haven't seen that yet that might still be coming. But it seems Mappa is more doing the traditional approach, or is not as easily recognizable. But aside from that, everything looks very much in line with what we saw in the first season. And also the same tone, atmosphere, everything. It's just jumped right back into it, even though it seems like we have made a big time jump.
Yeah.
After we left, what happened in the last episode of the first season, which we won't spoil here because it was a big moment, and you don't know how many people have watched that, but definitely watch that.
Do it. Why are you listening to us talk about season 2? Go watch season 1 right now.
Absolutely, yes. Please. It was one of our highlight shows in recent years, and the second season seems like it's picking up right where the first season left off, and is already very emotional, and the music is hitting all the right buttons, and just there's a very cool moment at the end of the first episode, which I was like, in the beginning, I was like, where's this going? I'm not quite. Where are our characters? What? Right? We get introduced to this new character called NieR, who seems to be like a farmer that gets sold, young farm boy that gets sold into slavery when his village is raided and family killed. And then by chance he meets Leif from season 1, who is on the search for Thorfinn again, and then NieR is bought by a farmer by chance, and Thorfinn also works at that farm, and they meet, and it seems like their relationship will be very important in this coming season, and NieR is probably going to be like the guy that maybe gives Thorfinn a reason to find a goal in life again, because what happened at the end of season 1 kind of seems to have basically killed his spirit, which we saw coming, kind of.
It kind of robbed him of purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. In more ways than one. He seems like completely lost at this point. Like his eyes are so vacant, and not because of bad character design, but like in Devil is a Part-Timer season 2. But but he seems to be very lost. And his spirit seems to be destroyed right now. But it seems like, judging from the OP, it's all the thing I'm gathering from watching the OP. Einar is the one that will reach out his hand and they will form a friendship, and then they will create a new path for both of them. And of course, we're probably going to follow whatever Canute does. He's also in the OP, and he might be going down a dark path. Who knows? I mean, that was already teased in the first season. Like he has a very clear mission. It will be interesting to see what methods he employs to realize that vision and that mission. So, fantastic show. So was just judging from the first season, but the second one also looks very promising. I can't wait to see what Mappa is going to do with it. And I'm super happy that Vinland Saga actually is back and that we get to see another season, because this is all now new for me. I knew everything that happened in the first season because I read the manga up to that point, but after what happened in the final episode, I stopped in the manga at the same point, basically. So everything that has happened is new to me now. So I'm super excited to see where the story goes.
Now I remember you saying that. I had forgotten, but...
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat as you guys now. Yeah, so absolutely looking forward to more, because first season, like I said, was one of our favorites in recent years, and I hope they get to finish this story in anime form. Would be great.
Is the manga over, or
the manga is still going apparently, but I have heard rumors about it wrapping up in the not too distant future. So I think the mangaka has alluded to that happening. So yeah, I hope, like I said, we get to see the end of this in anime form, and by this studio. That would be great. All right, we talked about one favorite in the Keepers, or two if you want to count Trigun. But of course, we also have some reviews lined up from fall season 2022. So we're going to talk about another of our favorites from recent years right now. It's time, John.
It is.
The finale is here. One of our most looked forward, but also most dreaded moments in terms of, oh man, Mob Psycho got another season. Oh man, it's the last season. Oh man, hopefully they get to wrap up in a really good way. I mean, season 1 and 2 didn't give me any reason to doubt them, but it was still like, oh god, please let this wrap up in a very good way.
That's always the worry.
Yeah, that's the worry. It's a worry for Attack on Titan. That's gonna probably wrap up this year. So yeah, we'll see how that fares. But first, we'll see how Mob Psycho 100 fared. But yeah, first things first, full spoilers for this, of course, because it's a continued season review. If you haven't watched either season 1 or season 2 of Mob Psycho, what are you doing? Go
for real.
Watch all 3 seasons. Like, goddamn. This is a post-mortem. This is not we also gonna try to convince you to watch this show, but we're just gonna talk about all the details of the season. So please watch the season first. We don't want to spoil this for you, because it's worth checking that out on your own first. Anyway, the boys are back.
Yeah.
The best boys, Mob, or Shigeo, as his real name is, and his mentor / con artist, Reagan. And they have brought us a lot of joy in the previous seasons and went through a lot of development, like each of their own in both seasons. First season was more focused on Mob, I would say. Second season was more focused on Reagan. And now this is kind of a mix. Also, again, a bit more focused on Mob, maybe. I mean, he's the main character, so that makes sense. But Reagan plays a very important part. And so do a lot of the side characters we met. This is one of those final seasons where it's like, hey, everyone is here. it's like the Smash Bros. Ultimate of Mob Psycho 100 seasons.
For real though.
Yeah, it's was at the end. I was laughing at how many characters they brought back just in the final moments of the show to be like, hey, remember that person from season 1? Remember that person from season 2? They're doing this now, and it's like, even if it's just for just small cameo, it's like, oh, that's fun. So yeah, I mentioned this already in the previous sneak peek, but. Let's talk about the basic setup for this show. So after the second season, where Mob basically destroyed the giant evil Esper organization, what was their name again?
Claw,
right. Not Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget, but just Claw.
No, not Dr. Claw.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well done. Not that guy, but the evil Esper organization of Claw. Mob basically took their leader out, now it's kind of like the final year of high school or so, it seems. Maybe third year or middle school. I'm not even sure where he is, but it seems like that's kind of wrapping up. So it's kind of Mob is at an uncertain time in his life. I mean, he doesn't know what path to take towards his future. He doesn't know what high school he wants to go to. Right, so it was middle school. I wrote this down. I'm a good anime review. I made notes. He doesn't know where he wants to go, what he wants to do next in his life. He doesn't know what career path to pick. But that's one of those moments where he can be thankful that he has Reagan in his life, because he's just here to teach him, just take your time, man. Figure yourself out. And that's what Reagan did. Like, he was in some kind of office job before, right? He didn't like. And then he became a psychic con artist
Yeah.
On a whim, because he was bored with it. And I think right now he seems to be pretty happy with where he ended up at, which wasn't the case in season 2, where he was still like, that was one of the main story points of the second season, where he was still so hung up on who he was and before this, and that he kind of is a fraud and stuff like that, and that's how he tried to control Mob, because he was his only friend, and he didn't want to have any other friends because he was afraid of losing him. But that was also what Mob then pushed away, ironically. But that was one of the main story beats of the second season. And they kind of got over this because Mob, with only so many words, let him know basically that he knows that he is a good guy and he's going to stick with him and he's going to be his friend and everything. So Reagan is on a path to find himself and be happy with where he is. And but now Mob is in kind of a funk because he doesn't know, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? It has all been pretty clear for me so far. It was just middle school. I knew what I was doing here. I had it, and I had in mind to maybe ask out my wannabe girlfriend, Tsubomi, at some point, right? So I hadn't looked further than that. I wanted my body to become more, attractive and more capable. So I trained with the Body Improvement Club. He was always someone who didn't look super far into the future. He was just like, I'm going to do this because that's what I want right now, and doesn't that. So now he's at a bit of an impasse, I would say. Did you get the feeling of that as well from the beginning of the season, John?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, middle school sucks trying to find yourself. So, watching this show and seeing that gotta play out in front of me again was like, I mean, some people take way after high school to figure themselves out. And so this, but this couldn't be me.
But this rang pretty familiar. So a lot of parts in the season did. But it was nice that Reagan, like I said, is here to give Mob a bit of self-assurance, and that he accepts that Mob is rejecting the thought of working at Reagan's office in the future, which is what he proposes, because they have been working together all the time, right? He is basically already part of Reagan's office, but Mob is like, I don't think that's something I want to do in the future. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but that's probably not it. And, Reagan from season 2 probably would have said, or the beginning of season 2 would done everything to convince him to stay. But now in season 3, which shows how much he has progressed, he's not trying to manipulate him to stay by his side. He just wants Mob to be happy because they're now genuine friends and everything. And yeah, Reagan has definitely grown beyond his old insecure self and has become even more of an amazing character than he already was, because he was always a good guy. But, he had some issues. He had some problems with with how he perceived himself and stuff like that, and how he projected that on other people. So that seems to be a thing of the past mostly now. So that is great. And yeah, we still got the same great comedy moments in there. We start off with a few one-off stories in the beginning before we get to like the biggest 2 main arcs in the season, kinda. And yeah, so they got enough time to showcase Reagan's crazy super attacks, again, like Rice Grain Big Bang. Mm-hmm. And you see crazy reaction faces, of course, because they do belong here. It's fun time. And of course, we also meet all the fun side characters again. The Body Improvement Club, all the people from high school, Ritsu, Mob's brother, and stuff like that. And I love that when they do the career day stuff at the school, and we learn that how all the people in the school are ranked in terms of grades and stuff like that, and career prospectus and shit. That the one random bald guy from the Body Improvement Club is ranked 2nd in the school in terms of grades and everything. And that he just wants
by its cover.
Yeah, and he just wants to work with animals as a career. Like, what a great little side bit! Like, blink and you miss it. The characters in the show will always surprise you. It's great. Like, I was just wait, what? That's fantastic. I didn't peg him to be this kind of character, so that's great that they put that in there. And we also have Serizawa, who is now a mainstay in the story. He was one of the he belonged to the enemy faction in season 2. He was part of Claw, but he kind of converted over to Reagan's side, and now he is his assistant in the office, which is good, because if Mob isn't around, Reagan definitely should have someone with actual psychic powers.
Yeah.
I mean, his con stuff does a lot of way, and he's now able to see spirits and stuff like that, right? Because Mob's power rubbed off on him a bit in the previous seasons. But he's still not powerful. Like, all the shit that he does in terms of attacks, it's just... It's fake, of course. He might believe in it at some point still, but I'm not sure he does. But it's really important that he has a guy that actually can kill dangerous monsters and spirits and shit like that. And, if Mob is not around or will not join his office in the future, he has Serizawa now. And, yeah, who also seems to be a good guy. And they seem to get along pretty good, right? I feel like all the scenes, I mean, I will talk about one of those later, but it feels like Serizawa is a valuable addition to Reagan's circle of people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's just there to help Reagan out. Like, he obviously understands what Reagan is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. He reads him like an open book.
But he doesn't seem to mind, because, they get along just fine otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they seem to be kind of... I mean, it's not like they're the super buddies and stuff like that, because Serizawa still has his own life and everything and what he does. But, they have a good working relationship. They're good colleagues. So that's cool. And they immediately, in the first or second episode, they have to work a case together, but Mob also joins. We're like this yokai hunter, Amaxa, who speaks so complicated that it pisses Reagan off to no end. Goes demon hunting with them. And, who is surprised how powerful Serizawa and Mob are. And, Reagan is reluctant at first, but switches his attitude immediately after seeing a lot of money being dropped on his table. He becomes very enthusiastic, and he has to pay the bills, so that makes sense. And so Mob and Serizawa also join, even though they are more focused on Mob on a cultural festival and Serizawa on his studies in evening school than the job in Reagan's office right now, and they can just very easily do exorcisms and stuff like that because they're so powerful. So it doesn't matter. And yeah, like I said, it's nice to have Serizawa as a more active battle component here because he moves around more than Mob. Yeah. Usually he just stands or floats. And Serizawa does like sword shit. And it's cool. Does he use Spirit Sword or something like that? I don't. Maybe I misremember this. Maybe he just punches things. I'm not sure.
I think he was more of a striker with his powers.
Yeah, something like that. Definitely close quarter combat stuff. So yeah, martial artsy. It's good. Yeah, and then after this one-off thing, we get to probably one of the two most important story beats in this third season, like that starts to rear its head a bit, and which is Mob is buying a bit too much into his own myth. Like,
yeah, what was it I said during the sneak peek? That one Crunchyroll clip, they called it the chatification of one mob.
Yeah, and that's no joke because literally he becomes like the chat meme with a big chin and all, like deeper voice too, because he thinks that suddenly all the three girls that he has like had regular interactions with, which is Tsubumi, Misato, and Tomei, and he misinterprets stuff, of course, because they just ask him for help and stuff like that, and it all just happens at the same time in a way that makes him think. I think who else is responsible for giving him that idea? Hanazawa?
I think it was Hanazawa.
Yeah, who just in general he's a good guy, but he has some very bad advice. It's just in general. He's just one of those friends. It's like he's supporting Mob, but he's also giving him some not so great ideas in terms of fashion.
Oh my god, the fashion.
Right, so
let's go buy you a new shirt.
I mean, why would you believe a guy with that kind of hair like that he had in the first season? That guy's also. I mean, he's gotten better, like I said, but there's also a guy who bought a lot too much into his own myth. So it feels like it's like maybe he's just you can hang around him. He's a good dude, but maybe don't listen to his advice. It's not the best thing. Maybe he's good for other things. So, but yeah, Mob does so, and he begins to think that all the girls are like, hey, we are interested in you now. So that gives him a bit of a bad idea, a bit of a wrong idea here, and he becomes a bit sidetracked, I would say. And kind of misses or is not interested in what else is going on in the city, which is that the giant broccoli, and was the result of the final battle in season 2, is now considered a divine tree. And various sects are battling to become the de facto religion to profit from its popularity. And a mainstay, starting from the first season, Dimple, is seizing the moment and impersonates Mob as the leader of the Psycho Helmet religion to become an all-powerful religious figure. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise because it feels like he went also through some development, but, it's kind of what he said he wanted to do in the first season. Like,
He's making good on his promise.
Yeah, I want to build a religion, I want to be all-powerful, I want to get God status, and now he has a chance. And that's of course dangerous. You don't want to see that happening. And Reagan has the right idea. He wants to throw the divine tree into the sea. Good plan. But Mob is preoccupied with other stuff, so that doesn't play out. And Dimples has enough time to brainwash everyone in the city with powder from the divine Brocco tree to join his religion and become a god. Which like we said, it's just what he did in his former cult, only now he's doing it on a grander scale. So it shouldn't really come as a shock. But he has been a good guy. He has been on the good guy team for about 2 seasons. Like, he helped out in the fights. He was a valuable member. So it's kind of like, oh no, is this your dark turn? Are you just gonna have a deadly battle with Mob or shit like that? So, but yeah, that makes it kind of easy to forget how he started out. But even then, when that starts out, I was already asking myself, so does he really care about being a god? Or does he just want a place to belong, defined by his conditions? Because, yeah, he was with the good guy team for the past seasons, but he was also like not necessarily doing what he wanted to do. He was just tagging along because Mob was so powerful and he wanted to make use of that power and stuff like that. You know, he was just attaching himself to it and was like, I'm going to use you eventually. But you had to hope that he just at some point would be like, yeah, no, this is a better way to live. This is good. So I'm just gonna forsake the old stuff that I wanted to do. So the roots of the tree are taking over the whole city and suck the life out of everything, other plants too, and yeah. So it becomes kind of dangerous. And Hanazawa, I think, is the first who really notices where that trouble is coming from or does something about it and tries to stop Dimples, but that just is not it's not working out well.
doesn't go great.
No, absolutely not. I mean, they have a fight, but he's like basically bodied by Dimples, who has just consumed so much psychic power now from all the people surrounding this weird tree. And the park in front of the tree makes it look like Psycho Helmet or Mob's face is there from the top-down perspective. If you look at it from looking down on the park, it just looks like the head of Psycho Helmet or Mob, which was a fun little detail that they put in there. And yeah, then Reagan gets brainwashed by the powder, and it's trying to convince Mob to also join the ranks of the Psycho Helmet religion. Like, hey, everyone is happy. Everyone, like in a cult, basically.
Was
just
he,
laugh.
though?
What?
I don't know. Like, I get what you're saying, but from his behavior, I don't feel like Reagan was really brainwashed. I think he just sort of looked at it and saw, like, maybe it'd be best to, like, do this for our own safety more than anything. I don't know.
Maybe, but the thing is,
I interpreted it a little differently.
Sure, that works too, but I think that also kind of is how the brainwashing works from the tree. It's like, choose the path of least resistance and the easiest path to happiness. That is what Dimples is trying to go for with the brainwashing stuff. It's like, hey, don't worry about it, just be happy. He wants this happy religion, right? He wants everyone to be happy and just be the god of all these happy people. Everyone in the world is supposed to live a happy life, but under his conditions, right? And that it feels like kind of Reagan is also, he's like, hey, this is the best way. Why would you, go against this? Everyone is happy here. And, this is the least dangerous part and stuff like that. I don't know if this is something deep down, maybe this is a part of Reagan where it's like, yeah, this is the least dangerous thing. And I'm watching out for myself. I'm watching out for Mob. So this definitely seems like the best option. But also I think the powder did its job to nudge him into that direction. I don't think he was completely made that choice of his own mind.
I'm reading now, and it looks like that might be the case. But like, it just it doesn't seem that way at first. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It seems very convincing, and that makes it even more interesting when Mob is actively turning his back on his master and going his own way to stop Dimples, because he has listened to Reagan a lot in the past. Yet he was his guiding, starlight, whatever. He would looked up to him and was like, "Hey, you're my master, basically, and I take your advice." But for one reason or another, either he has grown beyond just being a pupil to Reagan, or he's making his own decisions, or because he was like, "I don't think this is the choice, or this is what you actually would say if you were completely of your own mind right now." Mob makes the choice to do something about this and not do what Reagan suggests, which he wouldn't have done in the previous 2 seasons, probably. Maybe at the end of season 2 already, right, or the middle point, because they already have their falling out there, and Mob starts making his own decisions. But even more so now, he's like, no, I'm gonna do this I'm gonna do this instead of what you are saying, which is going so clear cut against what Reagan is recommending is a first for him, and it was really interesting to see him. Yeah, he's becoming his own man. He's thinking for himself.
Yeah.
Which is good, right? Progress, evolution. That's what you're supposed to do. You are supposed to grow into your own person. I mean, it's good that he got so much advice from Reagan, and even though it was the advice of a con artist, it was very valuable advice to forming his character. So, good stuff. So, but now he's at the point where he's like, yeah, no, I make my own decisions, and this is not what I want, so I'm gonna go and stop Dimples. And also, much more self-confidence than he had before. We saw the negative side of that in the beginning of the season, where he becomes so juiced on his own... on his own propaganda, basically.
I am the hype.
Yeah, exactly. But now this is the positive side, where it's like, no, I believe in myself, and I believe that the choice I'm making right now is the right one, and not the one that I must suggest. So that's cool. I love this kind of character progression in the show. And yeah, so the first season, I feel like in terms of themes and everything, was, among other things, about accepting the help of others and not shouldering everything yourself. That was a very important part of, especially the final battle and everything, where Reagan kind of takes that burden away from Mob. And then the second season, as a complementary piece, was about coming into your own and finding your own happiness. And now comes in, at this point in the third season, comes in one of the things that I think this season was about partially, problematic friendships and how these relationships can affect you in a negative way, and how important it is to be honest in a friendship, and how important it is to maybe cut ties if the friendship is too uneven at a certain point, because, you know, then if you can't recreate or restore that balance, you might either party might suffer in that friendship. And this is kind of what they're going for, I feel like, at this point with Mob and with Dimples, because, you know, it was a very unevenly balanced thing for most of the time, because Mob was so powerful, right? And now this has shifted, and Dimples has become more powerful, but also they are friends. Like, Dimples has been helping out Mob for maybe due to his own agency, but he has stuck around. He has given advice to Mob, and he has given him straight opinions, which not a lot of other people did. Reagan also did, but he always tried to be kind of nice about it and diplomatic. Dimples hasn't done that. And he's kind of the only one in Mob's environment who is doing that. And there's this interesting moment when Mob finally confronts Dimples in the tree, the Brocco tree. And Dimples offers him basically... to serve Tsubumi on a silver plate. Like, hey, if you join this religion, everyone is happy here, and she can be your girlfriend. You can be happy together. But Mob kind of realizes that it's all fake. Like, these wouldn't be real emotions, her real emotions. So they are worthless to him. And same goes for all his happy friends and family members. It's an artificial fake happiness. So it's meaningless in Mob's eyes. Which I guess can be debatable, but that is a comment on sects and religion in general, who are used as mental crutches for all kind of things. So it's interesting. It's like, hey, here, this is what Dimples is trying to do. He's trying to create this fake happiness for everyone here in this city. And Mob is kind of like, yeah, but that's not reality, and that's not the life I want to live, because this is shallow happiness. This is not actual, this is not fulfilling, and this is not real life. And, you know, it's enough for Dimples. It's all he kind of wants, because you get the feeling he was an unhappy person before, right? Yeah. So this is kind of his way to coping with that. I don't know, at least that's how I'm reading it. I don't know if you agree, John.
Well, I mean, he laid it all out pretty clear up front. He just wanted power, so... Yeah,
but that's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, it doesn't quite line up with what comes after that, but, you know, everybody goes through character development.
Yes. I mean, and he, like I said, the power thing is probably just a front for him. He just wanted a place to belong. He wanted an even friendship with Mob. He wanted to be taken seriously and stuff like that, which didn't really happen. Like, he, on one hand, always told it straight to Mob, and that's an important part of this part of the story, very important to Mob, even if he didn't really realize it. But like Dimple is the only one who tells Mob that his shirt that Hanazawa picked out for him is like the lamest shit.
That's true.
Like that's the thing, and that is what Mob again pushes, or what once again pushes Mob to 100% in this part of the story. Oh, there were always different emotions in the previous season that pushed Mob to 100%. I think in the first season was gratefulness because Reagan took the burden from his shoulders, and that enabled Mob to transfer his power to Reagan, and Reagan just basically slapping the leader of that section of Claw like senseless. And I don't even remember what it was in the second season. But Mob always goes to 100% of his power when he has like the clearest, truest, most genuine emotion for something. And it can be any emotion. It can be anger. It can be gratefulness again, happiness, whatever. And now, again, it's kind of like a bit of a gratefulness thing because he lets go of all of his power to just talk normally to Dimples at this moment. Like, tells him, Dimples, you were the only one who was absolutely straight with me when I was a bit too high on my own myth, like in the beginning of the season. And Mob at this point realizes that that is what a real friend does. Like, I mean, there's several different flavors of friends, you know, but you can't always have only friends in your life that powder your bottom. I don't know if that is the right expression. That blow wind up your ass.
It works.
You know, the yes sayers and stuff like that. Right? You also need sometimes friends who, if you were going down the bad path, tell you, dude, that please rethink that. That doesn't seem like the right thing to do.
If you have friends that only tell you yes all the time, you need new friends.
Exactly. And Mob has gained a lot of valuable friends during the course of the series. But all of them are kind of like very supportive. And even Reagan, who is, you know, like I said, very much like his guiding personality, is like, even when Mob is doing something, he, you know, is going down a very weird path. Reagan is always this wait and see kind of guy. He's like, yeah, do you think that's a good idea? Yeah, just, okay, try it out. You know, he lets Mob kind of figure himself out. He's not intervening that much unless things get really, really dire. Then he interferes, basically, like at the end of season 1. When, you know, bodily harm might be involved and stuff like that.
It's a little bit of fudge around and find out up to a point.
Yes, and Dimples doesn't do that. Like, immediately when he sees that Mob is doing something dumb in his eyes, he tells him straight to his face. He's like, the fuck are you talking about? These girls are not interested in you. Are you dumb? Like, you're completely misinterpreting that. And he's right. Of course he's right in that moment. He isn't always right in the previous seasons. And he is, you know, a bit of that might also not be motivated by selflessness or like he's only doing it for Mob's good. Maybe he's a bit arrogant. I mean, he is. Dimples definitely is. Yeah, right? But it's still important to have someone like that in your life. It's important for Mob. And at this moment in the story, he realizes it. He even realizes that the Psycho Helmet stuff wasn't just one of Dimples' schemes. Dimples just wanted Mob to be part of his goals. He wanted Mob to be his friend and acknowledge him. And so Mob reaches out and Dimples accepts and is ready to give up his godly powers. Just so they can be friends on eye level, right? On the same level, basically, now, which they weren't before. But now they have an understanding, and Mob finally understands where Dimples is coming from and what he did for him previously. And he's just grateful for that and wants him to be him to stay his friend. And that's kind of all Dimples wanted. He wanted to have a friendship on eye level.
Right.
And wanted a place to belong. That would have been great if that was the ending to the story, I guess, at this point. But sadly, the tree has gained sentience from absorbing all the energy.
Yeah.
And Dimples decides to take it into outer space to save Mob. And the really sad thing is, Mob doesn't quite remember what happened, because he was mostly out from giving up all of his power for a while there. So he just knows that he lost a friend and that he is grateful for that friend. But he doesn't exactly remember what went down in that tree and how viciously Dimples fought to protect him and to save the Earth, basically. And man, that was one of the highlight scenes in this, or moments in this season. Like, Kenji Kawai's soundtrack goes the extra mile in their final scene. It's so good. And while it cements their friendship as something real, it can also be read as a great metaphor for friendships that fall apart if you want to do that. I don't think it's really that in this case, because it's just a sacrificial act that Dimples does. But if you want to, you can read into it something like, of course, on the one hand, you could say that Dimples is responsible for creating this scenario, but Mob at some point might remember that if he had properly listened and talked to his friend Dimples instead of getting carried away by his growing ego, all this could have been avoided. And that is kind of incredibly sad and frustrating, and it resonates, especially with me, since I lost a very good friend a while ago. I'm still not sure who was more to blame for that long friendship imploding. Him, me, or if it was an equal fuck-up on both sides. Both parties not listening to each other, not valuing each other, not cherishing each other's companionship and stuff like that. But yeah, as you can imagine, that episode hit me hard. This is the second, if not the third time that Mob Psycho has done an incredible job at getting to the core of complicated emotions in a relationship. And I adore the show for being able to do that so effortlessly. I think they have done it in every fucking season. Like the finale in the first season, right? Where, the first part where Reagan is taking over or taking the burden from Mob. Then in the second season when they have their falling out and everything, but find together again due to being kind of at least partially honest with their emotions. And now this, which is a very, that's heavy stuff. I mean,
for sure.
The friendships are important, but it's also very emotionally distressing if the friendship falls apart for whatever reason. And I feel like the show does a very good job of just tackling this kind of aspect of human relationships. I love this. I thought this moment was great. Not to mention the animation in that episode was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just Dimples fighting all the Psycho Helmet clones, the 3/Broccoli throws at him. Holy shit. It just looks so good. I feel like the season overall wasn't that big on the biggest Sakuga moments. I feel like season 2 had more of that. But this was definitely one of them. And then we get one in the finale, I would say. But they definitely used it on the best, on an episode where on the episode where they should have used it. And it's great stuff. I loved it. And yeah, that was probably the first big arc of this season. What did you think about it in general, John? Did you think they pulled that off well? With considering how Mob developed over the previous season, considering how Dimples developed over the previous seasons, did that make sense for you that they would come to a clash here and how they resolved that, or were you a bit unhappy with it, or what were your feelings about it?
I think this was the logical conclusion. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that this is where they got to, and that in spite of everything, Dimple and Mob are still friends at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if it hit quite as hard because I lost a good friend in a different way, but I don't really know if I had any super toxic relations with quote unquote friends in the past. If I have, then I've already put them out of my mind. So who cares about them?
It's a wise choice. Yeah.
I'm a big believer in cutting out people from your life that you don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah. And that's always like, take care of yourself. But sometimes it's like, you don't realize that those were toxic relationships. Right. And like I said, sometimes you might have been the toxic party and you didn't even realize that. And then it's like, how do you cope with that? How do you reevaluate your self perceptance? Like I said, in my case, I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure if it was a 50-50 thing, if I was the one who was more to blame, if the other person was. But I felt like the show was a good job at going there in terms of, Mob is our main character, but he could also be kind of responsible for what is happening here because he was definitely not treating Dimples on an even level or on the same level as him. He was being dismissive about him. He was kind of like some of his comments he just ignored and stuff like that, even if they were the truth. And yeah, that might have cost him a valuable friendship at this point. So it was very interesting that the show was willing to go there and put our main character in again another light. So I'm always glad when shows dare to do that, even if it's not the most sympathetic light, right?
I mean, it's important to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. Especially in a show that is so focused on human emotions and relationships like Mob is. So, good stuff. So, after this big banger, we get like a small intermission thing that is very cute and is mainly about the telepathy club and all its members. And Tomei being very dismayed at finding out that all the other club members never really shared her ambition of meeting aliens.
You don't say.
A surprise only to her. But yeah, so that's kind of she when she finds out she and the other club members have a falling out, and then the club members feel bad and they want to get her back and want to enlist the help of other people, another psychic that kind of reveals himself and stuff like that, an old member of the group, and then they want to convince her to join them on a hunt for a UFO by sending out psychic signals with that one guy and Mob. And Reagan, of course, also gets roped in and everything. So it's like this small, funny side story, and it has a lot of neat little cute scenes in it. It's a very feel-good little mini arc in the middle of this season. Like there's this little scene between Serizawa and Reagan here that I loved, where Reagan invites Serizawa to have a drink together on New Year's Eve, but Serizawa has to refuse because he has already made plans with his classmates from night school. And it's clear that Reagan is very alone and wants to spend time with someone on New Year's Eve. And Serizawa realizes that, so he feels bad. Like, you see it all on his face.
Yeah.
It's right there. He's very, but I already made plans and I promised these people, but I also don't want to, let that guy hanging. So, but yeah, then Mob calls and asks Reagan if he can be their driver on their little UFO spotting adventure. And Reagan plays it off like he's annoyed that he has to babysit a bunch of teenagers on New Year's Eve. But it's obvious that he loves it so much. He's so happy. He's so glad that he's needed, that Mob is relying on him, still looks up to him as a responsible adult that has to take care of him, and that he isn't going to be alone, that he can play the reliable grown-up that the kids look up to. And he loves it all. And it's all on his face. It's all in his voice. Great performance by the voice actor again. And And Serizawa knows that. Like you said, he can read Reagan like he knows what he's about. And he can read him like an open book. And and Serizawa cracks a smile when he sees Reagan's reaction to Mob's phone call. And he's genuinely happy for him too. That's such a great little moment with these characters. Mob Psycho is so good with shit like that. I think that's great. That made me smile from ear to ear when I saw that scene. It's just a little throwaway scene, but it's so great, like getting us endeared to these characters more and more. And then Reagan oversleeps and freaks the fuck out. Because, he's always told Mob how important it is to be punctual. But yeah, Mob and the gang are also late and super scared that Reagan will yell at them. And then he's just leisurely leaning against the wall, playing it super cool, being like, don't stress it, guys. It's New Year's Eve, whatever, with sweat dripping all over his face.
He ran so far over and had to hustle so much.
Yeah. Respect the hustle. And we get filled in that, he has just arrived 2 minutes before they did. Like, I laughed out loud at that moment. Reagan is such a king. I loved it. How cool he plays it, even if it's so obvious that he also was super late. I loved it. It was great.
It's really good.
Yeah, and also Mob desperately trying not to puke because of Reagan's driving skills, quote unquote. That is a mood.
Motion sickness.
Yeah, it can happen. But it also looks like Reagan is not driving a car that often. He looks kind of anxious behind the wheel. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that might be attributed to him as well, not only the terrain. But yeah, they like climb this mountain and everything, and there's some words thrown around by Tome because she's angry with them and stuff, like because she thinks they're still fucking with her and they're not taking her seriously. And of course Mop is the one getting her out of her funk because he's so likable, and she just can't be angry at him, and she believes him that he's telling her the honest truth and everything. And it's just, of course they meet aliens. It's such a feel-good episode, just hanging out with them, like everyone having a good time, just making memories. It's just one of those after-school days before graduating to the next new time in your life. And I was, yeah,
it's great for everyone. And then Inukawa gets abducted.
Yeah, it's but he has his own little big alien adventure.
Yeah.
Including an alien rave and apparently an alien gangbang. Good for him. That's what it looked like.
But like,
he had a good time. He looks like he had a good time. He lived a whole life up there. Apparently, it was really interesting. And Tome is so goddamn happy. Like, I'm happy for her too. When she gets to hug an alien, all the fuzzy, warm feelings, man. That's all she ever wanted, and she's so glad that she can do that with her friends and making memories of middle school and shit like that. It's really nice. Weird thing, yeah. Like they say, if you want to convey your feelings to the aliens, you just have to look into their eyes. Why do the aliens have 90s anime girl eyes, though? It's some Sailor Moon Kamikaze Kaito Jean level eyes shit.
Oh my god, I haven't thought about Kamikaze Kaito Jean in like...
The eyes is all I remember from that show. Because they were fucking enormous.
No, you're absolutely right. You're 100% right.
That's what the aliens look like in this. So yeah. But great little mini arc. It's really nice to have like this very easy, good feels breather after the heavy moments between Mop and Dimples, and that friendship kind of crashing down and everything. So very well structured to give us a bit of time to catch our breath. I liked it a lot. And, involves some of the side characters, too, that we've spent time with since the first season. Like Tome and the guys from the Telepathy Club were in there from the get-go. So they were one of Mob's first friends. So that's cool. I liked it. I liked that a lot, too. And we also, I don't know if you noticed this, John, but we get a Sly Saitama cameo on Mob's phone. There was a...
We did, yeah.
Yeah. It was really cool. It's like, we know what's coming next. I mean, that's a different studio, but still, it's true. We get another season of One Punch Man soon, so great stuff. And it's by the same creator, obviously. It's both stories by one, so that makes sense that he's probably somewhere in the background or has been in the previous season, and we didn't notice him. But yeah,
probably.
I wouldn't be surprised if Mob turns up in a new season of One Punch Man at some time.
That'd be interesting.
Or Reagan. Oh man, I want Saitama and Reagan to meet. That's a crossover I can subscribe to. That's great.
Mob Psycho 100 has led to some interesting fan art as well. Like a certain someone walking up to Reagan's office and asking him to expel an evil spirit from him.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you can put together what that is.
Yeah, probably.
But it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, so then after this short little breather of an arc, we move into the finale, basically, of the show. And the hook for that, the setup is that Tsubumi, Mob's long pined for childhood love, is gonna move. She's gonna move away from the city after middle school. So that kind of put Mob's world into disarray in a bit, because it's one of those clear path things he had laid out for himself. It's like, yeah, at some point I'm gonna ask out Tsubumi when I have the confidence, right? When I have defined my new self, when I have improved my body, through the Body Improvement Club. When I have found out what I want to do, when I found enough self-confidence and everything. And now that decision kind of gets taken away from him, at least in terms of scheduling and shit like that, and time, whatever. And yeah, he has to, if he wants to do it, he has to do it now, because he might never see her again. So he decides to ask her out. But as pretty much everyone tells him that he comes into contact with, and as we see as the kind of third party here, Tsubumi seems to be very blunt when rejecting people. Like, she's the idol of the class or of the whole school, almost, kind of. Everyone is kind of proposing to her in one way or another, and she's like shutting them all down. She's just a straight shooter, basically. She's like, nope, sorry, not interested. Not super dismissive. She's friendly, right? She's very...
Right.
She's very polite, right? To all the people who ask him, but she sends them all away with tears in their eyes. Because she is not interested in that right now. She has her school in mind, maybe a career path and everything, and she has no time for boys, especially not the ones that she barely knows. And yeah, so things are not looking too bright for Mop, because they also have kind of a maybe difficult relationship, because he doesn't really exist for her in that space. That the show kind of makes that clear, but Mop still wants to become that person for her. And so, yeah, he decides to, after, talking with Reagan and everyone, and or some people in his life, I think Misato is the one who says, are you sure that she will accept you the way you want her to accept you as a boyfriend or stuff like that? Because she doesn't seem to be that kind of person that would just do that for you if it is not exactly how she feels, and she doesn't feel that way for anyone right now. So, but yeah, Mop, regardless, he's the thing in his mind that he wants to do. And yeah, people tell him, yeah, sure, go for it.
You gotta shoot your shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to see Mop getting so much advice. Like, it shows how many friends he has made over these 3 seasons or 3 years that care for him. It's really nice. Body Improvement Club, still the best support group. I mean, I was saying about it's not good to have only yes people in your circle of friendship, but these are very powerful yes people. Like, they're so supportive. They're great. They're the hype group. And yeah, of course, Reagan is also... He has to cheat when giving romantic advice to Mop. Of course he has. Because he also probably has not a lot of experience in that field, but he wants to be a good mentor to Mop. But yeah, so Mop decides to buy some flowers and intends to ask her out. But sadly, he chooses the apparently most dangerous crosswalk in all of Japan for cats and people alike. To get to his meeting with Tsubumi. And when a small boy that is playing on his PSP or whatever Switch, I don't know, is almost get run over by a car, Mop acts instinctively, pushes the boy away, but gets hit by the car. And then hell breaks loose.
Yeah, and then everything kind of goes off the rails.
Yeah. Pretty much, because he loses consciousness and something else overtakes his body. At this point, we don't know what that is. We just know he loses control and he becomes the specter we have seen a few times when he went 100%. When he unleashed his full power. He just becomes basically this shadow with white eyes, and it's just power incarnate. And seems to be on a very single-minded mission, and that is to go to Tsubumi and destroy everything in his path that is trying to keep him from getting to his destination. And that is, of course, very dangerous, because if the previous season have established something, it's that Mop is an Esper with almost unlimited power. So everyone who tries to stop him is bodied, destroys, cast aside with just a swish of his hand. he's just going through all of the people. That's what I said when I mean, hey, this is the cameo season, because they unleashed so many people from previous seasons who has fought and everything and who are now trying to stop it. And even the bad guys are now, like the main bad guy from Claw is coming back. As from, he is now with a special prisoner transport or something and gets dropped down in the city to stop this phenomenon. I mean, nobody knows that it's Mob at this point, but they just know something is rampaging there with enormous psychic power, and he recognizes that is Mob and everything. And some other guys from Claw who are now working at a convenience store are just trying to protect their fucking store.
Not the store, man. Come on.
Not the store. It's adorable, kind of. But yeah, so this becomes kind of a big action fest. Or, I mean, there's not that much back and forth. A bit. Hanazawa is trying to stop him, but he couldn't touch Mob when Mob was partially in control. What made him think that he had any chance of stopping him once it was clear that Mob has gone full berserk?
It was worth a try, I guess.
Yeah, sure. I hope he didn't regret it. But yeah, he also gets bodied. Like I said, Mob is wiping the floor with everyone. Hanazawa, other Espers, the Body Improvement Club, the bad guy from Season 2, who is, in a surprisingly move, finally makes a right decision and decides to retreat for the sake of his son. That's great. And even Ritsu can't withstand Mob's power, even though he tries to.
The way they flipped that scene on its head was pretty cool, though.
It was great, yeah. Like, at first I didn't quite get what this arc was leading towards, right? I felt like him going berserk and hurting people should have been a consequence of him being careless or selfish. At least that's what I thought. Like, by putting his wants before those of others, maybe, right? Because that seems like something that would fit into... he's going for that date with Tsubumi, but it's probably not what she wants, right? And it's he's maybe doing that without actually wanting to do it right now, but he feels like he has to because time is of the essence and everything. He might never see her again, but he maybe is not ready yet and everything. That could have been something, but that wasn't the cause for this, or it doesn't seem like it is at this point. Like, quite the opposite in that moment, because he did a heroic thing by pushing the kid away and saving it from getting hit by a car. So I wondered what the message would be. Maybe that he took the control over his powers for granted, and that's what led to this. But I wasn't sure. I was like, wait, I'm not sure if this is... I was worried, John, because I wanted this finale to make sense and be like this big emotional climax that made total sense for Mob's development. And if that was...
Right.
If that was the road they would have chosen, it's like, yeah, it's just coincidence, right? And it's like, that doesn't fit with the rest of the show, guys, because all of what happens in the show felt like a logical consequence of what either Mob did or other people did or didn't do, wrong or not wrong. So that would have felt like a bit random. And I mean, there is a random aspect to the car and everything, but that could have been anything. Anything could have knocked Mob out at some point in his life. So that is just a catalyst. But at that point, I wasn't sure if that was what they were going for. So I was like, okay, where's this going? But then in episode 11, it clicked. And we learned that he only went berserk because he suppressed a side of himself so long that it got too powerful. And as a result of the trauma, that side took over. And that's Dark Shigeo, basically. I think they even call him that at some point. Ritsu spells it out, I think. So one of the setups for why Mob is the way he is and why he behaves, why he's kind of, this kind of a bit demure guy and not self-confident and very soft-spoken and everything, is that he hurt someone with his psychic powers in the past. That we learn about that, I think, already in the first season. And after that, he became so intent on suppressing and controlling these powers and the side of himself that gave him that power, his emotions, that he basically had created another version of himself he could ostracize. I mean, look at what he says once his other half takes over. He calls the other one it. He says, that's not me. Like, he can't admit to himself that for all intents and purposes, it's part of him that is causing this destruction. Like Dark Shigeo, if you want to call him that, though I'm not too happy with that, denomination, because it intends that it's an inherently evil side of Shigeo, but it kind of is not. It's just Mob's pure want. That is hinted at in the OP, by the way, like so many other things in the previous season, because the OPs to Mob Psycho 100 are fucking great. But it's kind of like, there's like this one thing flashing all over the screen and everything. And likewise, Dark Shigeo considers Mob a fraud, like a fake version of himself that was created to keep him, Dark Shigeo, in chains, and Mob not live a life as his genuine self. And that's cool. I was immediately, okay, I get it. I'm super on board with this. This, of course, they set this up in the first season. They didn't really go there. I mean, they always alluded to, hey, Mob was doing this, all this shit because he hurt someone. He didn't want to do that, so he bottled up his emotions and everything. And his emotions are actually the stuff that gives him power. So most of the series is about him actually letting these emotions through and using them in a positive way and helping other people. So I thought that was, that was all we're going to get out of this. But now we get, okay, he has been using those emotions for good, but that also means he has let that side of him get more powerful again that he has been suppressing all the time. And what happens if that is unleashed? He has to confront it. He has to accept that that is a side of himself. And so, of course, I shouldn't have doubted the show, John.
Why would you?
I feel sorry. I'm super sorry. Why did I even think that they wouldn't pull this off? But this is, of course, the most logical conclusion. It's like the thing they set up in the very first season. Of course, it had to end this way. And they had to make a final important statement about self-identity, self-acceptance, self-realization and everything, because that's also one of the big components of the show. So this season is like, hey, bottling up emotions of anger, fear, despair, feelings of uncertainty, that can do a lot of damage if you don't have an outlet for it. And the simplest, which Mob has employed a lot in the previous seasons, would be talking to someone. Maybe in therapy or just talking to your family, for example, your little brother, which Ritsu realizes, and he wants to be that again for Shigeo. He wasn't able to be that in the previous season, kinda, because he was also kind of afraid of Shigeo's powers a bit, and he couldn't really talk to him, even though it is made clear that they had a very different relationship before the thing happened to Mob that happened, and Mob changed his character. Before that, it had a much closer relationship and could talk about everything. And then Mob they grew a bit distant because Mob became such a different character. He didn't laugh anymore, right? He bottled up his emotions. He just suppressed all of them because he was so afraid of losing himself in his power. And that also kind of distanced himself from his brother. And even though Ritsu didn't make any effort of trying to rekindle that relationship or bring it back to what it was before. And he regrets that now. And he realizes that that is what he should have done. It's kind of like what Mob realizes when he is grateful for Dimples telling it always straight to him, right? In the previous arc. And now Ritsu realizes, I should have tried to make an effort to bring the relationship between me and my brother back to what it was before Mob hurt someone and became this a bit the emotionless husk at times, which I couldn't relate to anymore, but I also didn't try to relate him. And now we're at this point. And he moves past his regret and goes 100% himself, which you alluded to previously, which is a great scene. But at this point, it seems too late. He can't get through to Mob.
Yeah.
But he tries, which is the important part. It seems like it doesn't make a dent, but you get the feeling we always see like these glimpses into Mob's inner self, right? In his mind space. And you see him reacting to that. You see more of him. The more people he encounters and he hurts and he pushes away, the part of him that is the Mob we know is reacting to that more and more and seems to become more aware of what is happening. So it's an important part, seeing his brother coming to his realization, saying that he wants to be an important part of his life again and everything. So that gives him also strength. It's very important. But yeah, the only thing Dark Shigeo seems to be interested in is meeting Tsubumi. But more so than that, probably, he wants to cling to the wish for things not to change. He wants everything to stay the same instead of facing an uncertain future, which is also like the overlying theme of this season, right? With, okay, what is Mob going to do after middle school? What is what is happening with the woman, with the girl he loves. How is that going to play out, right? What career is he going to do? So all this, all this uncertainty in the future, and that kind of is reflected here in what Dark Shigeo does as well. Like that want is symbolized by the bouquet of flowers, I think, which he is willing to protect at all costs. Like, he doesn't care about how he gets thrown around or whatever and gets attacked, but once someone just rips the flowers out of his hands, he just goes even more apeshit and just does everything to protect this bouquet of flowers that is his one chance of proposing to the girl he loves, right? That's all he is focused on. That's all he wants right now. And, it's more important to his pure want self than keeping his friends and family out of harm's way. Like, this is the most important thing, because that, like, Tsubumi going away symbolizes a constant of his life just disappearing and breaking away, possibly. And he can't handle that. And his darker side, quote unquote, can't deal with that possibility. Because that's not what it wants. It wants the people it cares about to stay in its life. And it's great. It sounds super, hypothetical and metaphysical and whatever, but you just have to think about it just being another side of Mob's personality taking over and making decisions that are not necessarily what another aspect of his personality wants, the personality that we knew up to this point. So it's really interesting, but it's still him. It's still his fears. It's still his worries about an uncertain future that kind of caused this. So it's all him. It's not necessarily some outside force and everything. It's all the consequence of what he did and what he is feeling at this point. So it feels very genuine, and it feels like the logical evolution of where he as a character was going. But Dark Shigeo, or his darker half, is also lying and not seeing the whole picture, and he's doing that to protect himself. Because he was rejected by his own other half. And he kind of was rejected by Tsubumi before. If you remember that scene from the first season where she is telling him, you're a downer or something like that, right? You always bring the room down. I think Kuki wa omoi or something like that, what she said. I think they weirdly translated it in the first season with get a clue or something, or read the room, which was a bit weird. I never could interpret that correctly. What are they actually meaning? But I think the phrase just is supposed to convey that Mob, with his, emotionless behavior and everything, and not smiling, everything, that he is kind of a downer. He's not fun to hang around. And Tsubumi tells him that. And yeah, that is rejection. He is sure he will eventually be rejected by Reigen. Because he's, when they have like this talk in Mob's head, he's like, hey, that guy is always telling bullshit, right? He's a con artist. He will not come for us. He is lying. They will leave us alone. Just let me take over. Let me, the one who makes the decisions, so we don't get hurt anymore. Which, after what happened in season 2, we as viewers know won't happen, because Mob became something for Reigen that Reigen always wanted and never had, a true friend. So he's not gonna abandon him. But while Mob probably realized that too, Dark Shigeo, or the half of him that embodies his darkest emotions and deepest fears, probably closed its eyes to that. So when Reigen just starts running through the mayhem of a fucking mob tornado, and the first OP 99 starts playing,
so good.
I fucking cheered, man. I jumped up and I cheered and I clapped and I screamed. I even cheered for Deus Ex Dimples, because let's be honest, that was pretty out of nowhere that he came back too. But whatever, I'll take it, because that scene was fucking amazing.
Let's not lie to ourselves. When you hear the main theme start to play, no matter what the show is, gonna be good.
Yeah, but, it was less this. We're bringing it all back to the first season. This is where we were supposed to end up. This is the important, pivotal moment of these two characters. It's gonna happen now. And that is just, it's so perfect. I mean, it's not really, they don't fight or anything, right? Reigen is just running for him. He's not giving up. Like, Mob is pushing and Reigen is really just a normal guy. So he's in so much danger. He's in so much fucking danger, kind of. I mean, Dimples helps him out and everything, but we don't know that at this point. But, he doesn't know that. I think. But, he just goes because he knows, oh shit, Mob he has lost himself. He needs my guidance. He needs my help. He is my one and my truest friend. So I need to help him. I need to be there for him. And that is and then the music starts playing and it's just, God damn it, this show. So good. And then finally, Reagan, for the first time, I think, is completely without any holdups or anything or side swerve, completely honest with Mob about himself and tells him that he doesn't have powers and he has been lying and that he is a fraud, which Mob knew. Mob knew that. He couldn't feel any power from Reagan. He knew that. He realized that in season 2. I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
But until now, Reagan had not shown him that he trusts Mob so completely that he is just able to admit to the most shameful part of himself. And Reagan lays it out all on Front Street, why he wanted to keep Mob around, why he wanted to be his master, and so on. It's cute because it feels like it's coming straight from the heart, and it's a bit clumsy. It's not really this sweeping, elaborate speech. He didn't rehearse that shit. Of course he didn't. But in some shows, these grand speeches that happen, when there's like these key emotional moments, they feel like grand speeches. They feel like they're reading from a script. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it's just like, okay, this is, the moment. But here, Reagan is like, well, listen, it sounds like a normal conversation he would have. Like he's making this up on the spot, but it's coming from the heart. It's real. Yeah. It's very real and genuine. I mean, his voice actor, Takahiro Sakurai, probably rehearsed that scene a lot, but Reagan didn't. No. And Reagan is like, and I'm paraphrasing, hey, everyone has multiple sides, and I hate that part of myself that I just told you about, but it's part of me. And it will be fine. I can do better. And so can you. And even if you can't, you're good the way you are. Don't worry about it. I mean, I guess it's fine to worry, because that's normal too. It's gonna be okay. Just accept yourself, all of yourself. And Mob does it, goes to his other half in his head, and is like, you heard what our mentor said. And his other half is still so afraid. And it's kind of heartbreaking how afraid he is at this point, because he was like this looming, super powerful, terrifying presence. But at this moment, he's just reduced to this very old version of Mob, the version that hurt that person, the version that was first rejected by Tsubumi, that had no friends, that had no self-confidence and everything, and, rejected even by another half of himself. He's so afraid, so alone. And that other half now convinces him that not only will he accept his darker or, other half this time, so will all of his friends. Just like they accepted the timid, sometimes emotionless version of Mob. And they merge, and for the first time, a not Mob, but Shigeo Kageyama 100% appears on screen. Boom! Incredible. Fucking incredible. Perfect, John! That's amazing. I didn't even think about that until it happened. It was always Mob 100%. And then,
yeah,
finally he has found himself. Finally, Shigeo has found himself. And it's just Shigeo Kageyama 100%. Ah, it's so good. I couldn't believe my eyes. Ah, fantastic. God, I love that scene. What did you think about it?
It's really good. I don't know what to say beyond that, because, it's like, you don't really think about it up until that point. But then when you see it, it's like, yeah, now Shigeo is Shigeo. He's himself. He gets to be himself.
Finally. Yes, it's a long time coming. 3 fucking seasons. Mm. And we didn't know that he would end up there. But yes, of course. And, oh God, I was so happy for him. Damn, and he doesn't even get the girl. Like, Tsumi rejects him because of course she would. From everything we have learned about her, that was inevitable. But now Mob can deal with that. Mm-hmm. Sure, he cries. Why wouldn't he? Rejection sucks. But it's gonna be fine. Like, you get up, dust off, and move forward. And he couldn't have done that maybe before. And maybe would have lost control, or would have, retreated even deeper into himself and become more of an emotionless husk. But now, through the help of all of his friends and what he went through in the previous seasons, he can just cry, get a hug by his mentor, and then they walk off into the sunset and we're like, hey, it's gonna be alright. It's just... it's so good. It makes so much sense and it feels so right. And the ending is just the icing on the cake. Like, we get a birthday party for Reagan. Like, look at all the friends he has now. And then he dives face first into his birthday cake. And we end on a shot of Mob, or Shigeo, who is finally able to show us a side we have never seen of him. Like, a heartfelt, big, loud laugh. And I'm crying, and it's the end, and it's perfect. It's a perfect ending, John. Fucking perfect ending. Like, in our 6.5, Jesus Christ, in our 6.5 years doing this, John.
Oh my God.
Have you seen an already perfect anime get a more perfect ending? Like, have we had this on this scale? I mean, Fruits Basket, maybe.
Yeah. Outside of that, though,
I mean, we haven't finished up that many shows, and some didn't even get an ending. I wonder how I would feel about Attack on Titan when it wraps up.
I mean, I will say there's a show that we're going to talk about this season whose ending I really liked a lot, too. So,
okay. Well, yes. So we will do that eventually. But, yeah, right now I can think of a better way a story was wrapped up, aside from maybe Fruits Basket. But this one is equal, if not better. Like, because this it's such a good story. It's just such a great coming of age story, and I love this show so much. It's definitely now one of my favorite anime of all time. If you haven't watched it yet, what the fuck are you still doing here, listening to us two bozos telling you what a great show this is? Go watch it and find out for yourself. Holy shit, it's so good.
It's definitely like a top 5 for me now.
Yeah, absolutely. For me as well. Like, it's absolutely up there. And I'm gonna get myself all the Blu-rays. I'm always holding off. I'm like, I'm gonna wait how this plays out before I make that investment. That it's also counterproductive because maybe then the show doesn't get finished. But It's like, do I want to, if this third season sucks, do I want to keep it around? But I definitely will. I will buy all 3 seasons immediately, because this now has to be in my library forever, because it's one of the best anime ever, in my opinion. Yeah, so, definitely, god damn it, watch this show, people. Like, holy shit. Where is it streaming? I think Amazon Prime, maybe.
Definitely Crunchyroll, definitely Funimation.
Hulu too, I think. I think it's on Netflix over here in Germany. So yeah, there are a bunch of places where you might be able to check it out. Just search it out, please. Try to use your streaming search engine, whatever, and subscribe for a month to whatever service has it in your country to watch this show. Watch all 3 seasons, because that show deserves it. Like, fantastic. God, John, do you have any final words on Mob Psycho 100?
I don't know what else there is to say other than it's a great show. Why aren't you watching it yet?
Exactly. Please.
Why are you listening to us talk about it now if you haven't watched it yet?
I don't understand. I can't relate. People, please. We have been singing the praises of the show from the get-go, and it got progressively better. And it ended on an amazing finale. Like, I'm so happy that I can confirm that Mob Psycho 100 did not only deliver, it aced its final season in all aspects for me. Mm-hmm. Like, it had some really harrowing moments in there, but it all led to a very bittersweet ending in parts, but one that made sense. And then on this very, on a very, very happy note, it wraps up. And a perfect conclusion to this character that made sense and didn't feel rushed and didn't feel ham-fisted or any of that shit. It was the logical conclusion. All of these characters have evolved. We got to witness that, and it made all sense, and it felt all genuine and heartfelt. It was great. Just, wow. Like, a thing I'll hope I'll be able to say about Attack on Titan as well when it maybe wraps up this year. We'll see.
I hope so.
Yeah, but Mob Psycho 100 is now definitely one of the greats. Hall of Fame, best anime of all time. And in my opinion, it's a mandatory watch for anyone who likes this medium. Like, without any doubts. Throughout all of its 3 seasons, it's consistently creative, funny, often visually stunning, and just one of the most heartfelt and genuinely emotional stories I had the pleasure of experiencing in my life. Go watch it. You will not regret it. And that is a wrap on the 138th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in this program is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to virt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Leave us comments and questions on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at AnyBrainFreeze, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
So long, everybody. Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
My heart is a chainsaw, but I'm happy?
And in a dire situation, always ask yourself, what would Anya do?